Slammy Awards are stupid. They're awards that are seemingly handed out by the WWE with little to no reason. More often than not, rather than giving the award to somebody that deserves to actually win the category, they give the award to somebody to help further a storyline that they're currently in. And they usually just had the most ridiculous categories as well. Because who could forget classic categories like the Real American Award, the Best Dance Moves? Because heaven forbid we go a year without knowing who's the Beard of the Year. And how will I know what was funny if we don't give out the LOL Moment of the Year? And of course, let's not forget the ever important Kiss of the Year. You get the point. The Slammies are stupid. But they're coming back this year, and they're coming back with some pretty legitimate categories that are worth exploring. It's also interesting to note that they're considering their Slammy year from WrestleMania 39 to WrestleMania 40. So they're not considering the year as the calendar year anymore, which I think is pretty neat. So we're gonna go through every single Slammy Award category for 2023/2024, and I'm gonna give you who I think should win these categories. As always, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, ring that bell for notifications. If you're a wrestling fan, I know you're gonna fall in love with this YouTube channel because we always upload daily wrestling content. All right, let's get to it. The first category is the Breakout Superstar of the Year award. Now, for me, if I were to award the Breakout Superstar of the Year, I would give it to one of two types of people. Either the individual that was in the mid-card or lower mid-card that had such a great run throughout the year that helped catapult them into the main event scene, or somebody from NXT that just had such an amazing run, especially if they had a great run going into the main roster as well. The nominees are Jey Uso, and I think he's a great choice. He's one of those types of individuals that went from being not necessarily a mid-carder because he did main event night one of WrestleMania, but a career tag teamer and became a mainstay of the singles main event scene. And I think that's a great accomplishment to be able to pull off in a single year. We also have Tiffany Stratton, who had a great run in 2023 in her NXT run, winning the NXT Women's Championship, having that great rivalry with Becky Lynch. She moved into the main roster, had a great showing at the Royal Rumble, amazing showing at Elimination Chamber. I think that she deserves to be in this category. Here's a weird one, Pretty Deadly. I love Pretty Deadly, yes boy, but if you think about what they did from WrestleMania 39 to WrestleMania 40, they had a good couple of months, and they had some really awesome vignettes with the hashtag Elton Strong stuff. But for the most part, they've been relegated to the bottom tier of the tag team division on the main roster. So personally, I wouldn't have them on this list. Dragon Lee is an interesting one because even though if we use recency bias, I wouldn't have him on here because they've been barely using him, but he did move through NXT real quick, moving from being a relatively unknown individual on NXT to being one of the NXT crowd favorites, even won the North American Championship, had some of the best matches of the year in NXT, moved on to the main roster and had a great run there and had some fantastic matches as well. But recency bias would make me remove him, but I'm not using recency bias. Lastly, we have LA Knight, and obviously he has to be on this list. This is a guy that went from missing WrestleMania 39 entirely to winning the Battle Royal at SummerSlam, to being part of Money in the Bank, to tag teaming with John Cena, to feuding with the Bloodline, to having 2 world title opportunities against Roman Reigns at the Royal Rumble and Crown Jewel, to being in a marquee spot at WrestleMania in a great feud against AJ Styles. So this guy literally went like the full circle from zero to hero in the entire year. So my opinion, I feel like I kind of spoiled it with what I was saying there. I kind of felt like Sancho from the Wrestling is Cool podcast with how much I was glazing LA Knight. I think the winner is LA Knight. I think like there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. I think those were, aside from Pretty Deadly, some pretty good nominees, but this was the year of LA Knight. Like he became one of the darlings of not just the internet wrestling community, but like just wrestling in general. Next up, we have the ever important Social Star of the Year. And I sounded sarcastic there because I kind of was, but being big in social media is important in this day and age of the WWE. So let's go through the categories. We have Grayson Waller, who I think had a great year on social media. I think the highlight of his social media career throughout the year is getting into a giant war with the Swifties who don't know how to take a joke. Logan Paul is an obvious choice to have on here. This is a guy that had a bunch of WWE superstars on his podcast, that helped further WWE storylines on his podcast, that even announced SummerSlam on his podcast. But on top of that, he created some of the most viral moments during matches that he would then post on social media. Like, for example, when he jumped off the top of the turnbuckle to the outside on the table to go through KSI. He filmed all of that vlog style. Think about like when he vlogged himself being in the chamber pod. He just released a hilarious TikTok video explaining his rivalry with Randy Orton. He's been fantastic on social media. He was everything that was advertised personally. Drew McIntyre has been great, but in my opinion, this would be recency bias because all of his great work on social media has really come off the back of trolling CM Punk over the last 2 months. I do believe he deserves to be in this category, but purely because of the great work that he's been doing in the recent months of this, I guess, calendar year or fiscal year that they're considering. Next up, we have Chelsea Green. I absolutely believe that she needs to be on here. She has a great TikTok. She stays fully in character with her tweets, demanding to speak with the likes of Adam Pearce on social media. Like she really, really hams it home with her character on social media. And then we have Liv Morgan. I'm gonna be honest, I don't know what she really does in social media, but she has the strongest, most devout social media following that I've ever seen for a WWE superstar. So sure, I can't argue with that. When you have that strong of a devoted following that nearly crucified me simply because I said that she wasn't going to win the Royal Rumble, and then we got into this huge internet beef, fair enough. You got a strong enough social media presence to be on here. Now, the winner, in my opinion, is Logan Paul. I think everybody here has a really great case to be made. But like I said, like the fact that he had so many important WWE superstars on his podcast, big announcements on his podcast, and all of these super awesome viral clips and moments that he was creating in the ring, vlog style that he would post on social media, like that's undefeated. It had to be Logan Paul. Do you want even more wrestling content? Because you could be getting more wrestling content right now over on Patreon, patreon.com/SantiZap, where I just uploaded the most recent review of this episode of SmackDown. It's already up there. You're also going to get the Raw reviews. You're going to get the Wrestling is Cool podcast 3 days earlier than everyone else. So go check it out. Patreon.com/SantiZap. It'll be the top link in the description, or it'll be the link in the pinned comment. Thank you so much for your support. Over 500 of you are already hooking me up on Patreon and getting that extra content. So back to the video. Here's the OMG moment of the year. And here's where I guess it becomes subjective. Like, what's an OMG moment, right? Like, what is that? Is it like a really cool piece that happens in like a storyline, something just super epic that somebody says, an epic action that someone takes? Is it an extreme moment? There's so many different things that it could be. Let's go through the different nominees. We have Dominic Mysterio finally being punched by Rey Mysterio. Not gonna lie, I fucking popped for this. Absolutely I did. For weeks, Dominic Mysterio was tormenting Rey Mysterio and his family, and for weeks, Rey Mysterio refused to lay a hand on him, to the point where it was becoming genuinely upsetting that Rey wasn't beating his own son. So when he finally pushed him, punched him, when he started to get into his mom's face, it was cathartic. It was a great moment, and I did pop for it. CM Punk returning, of course. I think like, oh my God, yeah. I think I screamed, oh my God, about 100 times when CM Punk returned to the WWE. This was hell freezing over. Absolutely. This dude was in AEW like 3 months ago. Like, dude, this is like the most butterfly effect thing that's happened in wrestling recently, because so many tiny little things had to happen to snowball to the point where we got CM Punk, not just at Survivor Series, but in Chicago. It's like AEW did everything possible to hand WWE CM Punk on a silver platter on the best possible stage that they could debut him in. I never thought in a million years that I would see this. We had Io Sky cashing in her Money in the Bank briefcase against Bianca Belair, who had just won the Women's Championship. I think this is a pretty good choice to have on here, but I don't think that it touches the previous two that I have on here. Then we also have The Rock slapping Cody Rhodes at the WrestleMania press conference. Absolutely. This is a monumental moment. This was huge. This was the real cementing of the heel Rock, something that we've been wanting for so long, but seemed like it was an impossibility to ever get. And we got it during this press conference, and it was the slap heard around the world. I absolutely believe that this deserves to be on here. We have Damage Control turning on Bayley. That's how they worded it. But if you think about it, like, it was kind of Bayley that turned on them because she called them out first. And I don't know, listen, it's subjective, but yeah, I get where they're coming from, but I wouldn't have this on here personally. And then we also have Cody Rhodes slapping The Rock. Yeah, this is a huge moment, but it wasn't anywhere near as OMG as when The Rock slapped Cody Rhodes, in my opinion. So for me, the winner, and I don't even think it's close because of just how impossible the likelihood of this happening was, it's CM Punk returning at Survivor Series War Games to the WWE. I don't think anyone's going to disagree with this. Again, it just really depends on what the definition of OMG moment is. For match of the year, we're going to have a problem. At least I'm going to have a problem with the WWE because what I consider to be the match of the year wasn't even nominated. So let's go through what they nominated. So they nominated Bad Bunny versus Damian Priest in Puerto Rico, the Puerto Rican street fight. This thing was amazing. Absolutely, it deserves to be on here. One of the coolest showcases of what professional wrestling is all about that they did throughout the entire year. We had the fantastic Sami Zayn versus Roman Reigns in Sami Zayn's hometown of Montreal, Quebec, Canada, in an amazing emotionally charged singles match. We had the technically proficient and perfect Gunther versus Chad Gable for the Intercontinental Championship on Monday Night Raw. This thing, also perfection, deserves to be on here, absolutely. Then we have what I think is a weird choice, the SummerSlam triple threat match for the WWE Women's Championship between then champion Asuka, Charlotte, and Bianca Belair. I do think it's a very, very, very good match, but with one of the matches that they left out, I question why this one is on here. I'd be okay with this one being on here had they included the match that I'm talking about. Then we'll have Charlotte Flair versus Rhea Ripley. Absolutely. I think that this was the best women's match of the entire year, in my opinion. These two put on a show. I think the only downside of this match is the poor buildup to the actual match itself. But then when they actually got into the ring, these two ladies made magic, and one of my favorite matches of the entire year. However, where the hell is Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens versus the Usos? That to me, and to a lot of people, by the way, and a lot of wrestling outlets, was the best match of the year between the actual in-ring work rate, the incredible moments within the match, and the storyline that encapsulated that match. It should have absolutely been on there. I don't know what they were thinking by keeping that match off, because that won my match of the year. Now, if I have to go with what was given to me here, I'm ultimately going to go with, to me, what was the most memorable match that I still talk about this day. And that is Bad Bunny versus Damian Priest. Proficiently, yes, there are better matches on there, like Charlotte Flair and Rhea Ripley, but there is so much more to being a good match than just it being a good technical showcase of professional wrestling, because professional wrestling is a grandiose theater. It's a circus, and to me, this embodies that the best. The way Bad Bunny came out into the ring, the crowd chanting, the drone shot, the insane match that would then ensue with one of the most violent matches in recent memory. Bad Bunny shocking the world by not only being violent himself, but willingly taking some of the most violent moves that I've seen Damian Priest deliver. And then the, yes, admittedly overbooked nature of all of these people getting involved, but how can you not pop a Carlito coming out? Like, dude, it was just perfection in my opinion, but I think the tag match was better. Next up, we have NXT Superstar of the Year. I love the fact that this is a category. I love the fact that the WWE is recognizing NXT, because it felt for a really long time that they were just kind of to the side and they barely wanted to acknowledge NXT, but throughout 2023, they did a great job of integrating NXT into the main roster with ebbs and flows of NXT Superstar sometimes coming up and making appearances on Raw and SmackDown, and vice versa, with main roster members going down to NXT. So I'm happy that this is a category. We have Ilya Dragunov, who had just a phenomenal 2023 and early portion of 2024, winning the NXT Championship and just putting on the best matches of the night every single time he's out there. Carmelo Hayes, I think I can say the same things for Carmelo Hayes that I just said for Ilya Dragunov. I will say one extra notch that you could potentially give Carmelo Hayes is that he's involved in one of the best storylines in NXT with Trick Williams. We have Lyra Valkyria, who had an amazing run this year, being the one that dethroned Becky Lynch as the NXT Women's Champion, and also got to have matches with the likes of Rhea frickin' Ripley on NXT. Tiffany Stratton just had an absolute monstrous year on NXT. We already talked about her earlier. The great feud that she had with Becky Lynch. The fact that she won the NXT Women's Championship, was a dominant NXT Women's Champion. And then we have Braun Breaker. I feel like this one's debatable. I feel like Braun Breaker actually had a bit of a down year in NXT in terms of what he accomplished, the types of matches that he was having, and the storylines that he was in. It seemed like he was very much they were starting to wane him off of major NXT feuds and major NXT storylines so that they could get ready to move him to the main roster. So I actually wouldn't have Braun Breaker on here. Here is my winner. I would go with Ilya Dragunov. The man just is a delivery machine. He just delivers every single time that he's on screen, every single time that he has a match. It's must-watch television. Rivalry of the year. Let's go through what the WWE chose. We have Seth Rollins versus Drew McIntyre. I think that this is a fair one. Of course, we have this rivalry going into a WrestleMania feud, mostly off of the back of how good Drew McIntyre is, not necessarily off the back of how good the feud has been, because this feud before that was okay at best. We had their match at Raw Day 1. We had them both being involved in Raw in the War Games match, and they had the match as well at Crown Jewel, where Seth Rollins just won clean every single time that they faced off against each other. I don't know that I would have this on here because most of their feud was mostly just okay. Their feud only got good here going into WrestleMania, and it's not even their feud that's good, it's Drew McIntyre that's good. Here's an actually really good feud. We have Dominic Mysterio versus Rey Mysterio, and just such a fantastic storyline to the point that I think it's a little bit disrespectful that they only had one chance at a match this year, but god damn it, was it a great match. They both had amazing entrances, and to me it's one of the most memorable storylines in the WWE in recent memory. We had Bianca Belair versus the members of Damage Control. I think this is fair to have on here as feud of the year or rivalry of the year, considering how long they fought for and how much of a thorn in the side of Bianca Belair's ass Damage Control was throughout the entire year. Cody Rhodes versus Roman Reigns. I don't think that I would have it on here, considering if you really look at the feud that was built up to WrestleMania 39, it was only really built up for about 3 months. And then after WrestleMania, they just took a big old break from that feud, and we never really revisited it until super late. So I wouldn't have this on here. They also have R-Truth versus the Judgment Day, which I think is a cute one to have on here. Like it's fun, it's really good television, but I don't know if it's gonna be a rivalry of the year, considering R-Truth didn't see it as a rivalry for the longest time. He just thought he was a member of the Judgment Day. Look, where is Bloodline Civil War? Where is Jey Uso versus Roman Reigns? Where is Sami Zayn versus Roman Reigns? They were missing some key ones here. I don't know what they were thinking with missing with leaving out a couple of these heavy hitters that I personally would have had win. Like I would have had the Usos versus the Bloodline, or Roman and Solo Sikoa. I feel like that was the rivalry of the year, in my opinion. But based on the options that I've been given, I am going to go with Rey Mysterio versus Dominic Mysterio. I feel like this is the best wrestling feud out of all of them. Faction of the year, the options are the Judgment Day, who just won everything this year. Women's gold, singles gold, tag gold, Money in the Bank briefcases, were part of major storylines, headlined a bunch of PLEs, and opened and closed just about every single episode of Monday Night Raw for what felt like 6 months. Alpha Academy, they're fun, they're good on-screen personalities, but I don't think that they should be on here. Imperium, they're okay, but they barely really operated as a faction. It was singles Gunther and tag team Giovinci and Ludwig Kaiser, so I wouldn't have them on here either. Bloodline, I think you have to consider, even though they had like their implosion and their breakup throughout the year, they were still such a monumental part of the first portion of 2023, even coming out of WrestleMania as well. Damage Control had a fantastic year, far and away their best year, winning major accolades like the WWE Women's Championship, Money in the Bank briefcase, tag titles. While she was a member of Damage Control, Bayley won the Royal Rumble, so they won plenty of accolades as well. Ultimately, when it comes to a faction, I am going to go with Judgment Day. I feel like they accomplished the most and did the most in the time that this is considered. So again, post WrestleMania to WrestleMania 40. Return of the year, dude, like why is this a category with options when we know what the winner should be? Let's just go through them out of courtesy. We have CM Punk. You know this is winning, right? The Rock, cool. He came back like 5 times throughout this stretch. Nia Jax. Look, I like Nia Jax, but come on, are we really like, come on. Anyone voting for Nia Jax? I don't think so. Randy Orton's a cool return. I think Randy Orton is probably the one that rivals CM Punk the most, but it's just not the same. Naomi coming back was also really cool. It's a big get from TNA, big marquee free agent signing. I think she should be on this list, but yeah, the winner's CM Punk. It always was, and it always will be. This is still one of the most insane monumental returns in wrestling history. Best entrance is the weirdest category that they have here. You'll see why, because in terms of best entrance, they just have the superstar's name. They don't say, for example, Cody Rhodes is on this list, but they just say Cody Rhodes. They don't say Cody Rhodes at WrestleMania 39 or Cody Rhodes Money in the Bank 2023. They just have Cody Rhodes. So is it the pyro that he does every night? I guess so. Same with Roman Reigns. Is it literally just Roman Reigns coming out slowly to his music? Bianca Belair swinging the hair around? Like if we had her WrestleMania 39 entrance, I think you'd have it on here. But just a regular entrance, okay. Seth Rollins bouncing around dancing. Rhea Ripley, I mean, I guess she does the foot stomp. That's pretty cool. This one's fucking weird. Becky Lynch just walks. She just walks, dude, and raises her arm. Is that okay? I guess that's a nominee for entrance of the year. The Rock should absolutely be on here. The new entrance that he has with the lightning bolts and the red eyes and his new entrance theme, maybe a little bit of recency bias, but I would definitely consider The Rock here. And here's where this category gets real fucky. Because then they say Dominic Mysterio at WrestleMania 39. So everyone else is just their regular entrance, but Dominic Mysterio actually has a very specific entrance that they're saying is the potential best entrance. This was a really weird category. I really like Dom's entrance at WrestleMania 39, and this might be a little bit of recency bias, but come on, that new Rock entrance with the lightning hitting him and him spawning and the red eyes, it's such good shit. Female Superstar of the Year, I think, is another one of those really easy categories. There's just such a standout performer that it's almost a little unfair to everyone else that's on this list. Let's go through them. We have Rhea Ripley, who won the Women's World Championship at WrestleMania and was just incredibly dominant throughout the year, to the point where she more or less became the leader of Judgment Day. Not only was she dominating every single match and feud that she personally was involved in, but she was also involved in the men's storylines as well, and being a major kingpin and player in those feuds. Bianca Belair, I think, is fair to have on this list. She was a dominant force once again in 2023 and in the early portions of 2024, but I do believe that she had a bit of a regression in terms of the things that she was able to accomplish in this year as opposed to previous years. We have Bayley, who I think should be in consideration, but she spent most of the year getting her ass kicked in everything that she was involved in. It wasn't really until winning the Royal Rumble that she really did anything of note and worth. Then we have Io Sky, who won the Money in the Bank and cashed it in and has been a champion for the better part of almost 300 days. However, she doesn't defend the damn thing, because she's only defended it 4 times ever since she cashed in at last year's SummerSlam. So I don't know that I'd have her on here. Becky Lynch is actually an interesting choice to have on here, because I actually really like it, because she had a phenomenal feud with Trish Stratus that crescendoed in that great cage match. But for me, the reason she should be on here is her great work down in NXT, helping put over younger talent over there and having amazing matches and feuds with the likes of Lyra Valkyria and Tiffany Stratton, helping put over up and up-and-comers like Tegan Knox, like Xia Li, youngster Natalia, of course, got that Becky Lynch rub. But yeah, I feel like she just did a lot of good stuff in 2023. However, look, like it's Rhea Ripley. The winner is Rhea Ripley. Like it's Rhea Bloody Ripley. Here's the last award. We have the Male Superstar of the Year. We have Cody Rhodes, who I do believe deserves to be on here. He won the Royal Rumble recently, got to main event WrestleMania. But in terms of what happened in between all of that stuff, I guess he won the tag titles. He won his feud against Brock Lesnar. I think that's fair. So yeah, I think I would have Cody Rhodes on here. Roman Reigns, it shouldn't be here. He just shouldn't be here. Again, if we're looking at the timeline of post WrestleMania 39 to or I guess including WrestleMania 39 to WrestleMania 40, he was barely here, dude. Yes, great main evented WrestleMania. He had the Bloodline Civil War, main evented SummerSlam, but it was just so sparse and few and far between in terms of his appearances that he lost a lot of his steam, in my opinion. Seth Rollins, I think, is a great option to have on here. Fighting champion, won the World Heavyweight Championship, had a great match at WrestleMania with between Seth Rollins and Logan Paul, and beat every single person that went after that championship. So in terms of a fighting champion, he definitely had a monumental year and needs to be on this list. And there's Gunther, a fighting champion who also just defeated everyone that came his way, but also would go on to have like some of the best matches of the year. That triple threat match, oh my God, at WrestleMania was fantastic. The amazing matches that he was having with Chad Gable, matches with the likes of Jey Uso, like Gunther, it didn't matter who he was with. He was given The Miz, who is like the most middle of the road wrestler when it comes to putting on fantastic matches, and he'd have fantastic matches with The Miz. Gunther also became the longest reigning Intercontinental Champion of all time during this run. Then we also have Logan Paul. I think this is a weird choice. I think it's cool that he won the United States Championship. I think he did a lot of great stuff throughout his run, and now the fact that he's a full-time performer, I think it's great, but I don't think that he's in the same realm of category to be Superstar of the Year alongside the likes of Gunther and Seth Rollins. For me, it ultimately came down to Gunther and Seth Rollins in terms of the work that they put in this year. I think that you could go either way. If you went with Gunther, I wouldn't argue with you. If you went with Seth Rollins, I wouldn't argue with you either. Me personally, I went with Gunther, and I feel like I'm validated and justified in that choice based on everything that he's accomplished this year. But again, if you went Seth Rollins, like, dude, like, we're basically like this because like to me, they're like this. They're super, super close. I'm going to go with Gunther. So that's the WWE Slammy Awards. Let me know if you feel that any of these categories were just wrong, if they left out some key important nominees for any of these. Let me know down in the comments, but I'm done. Get out of here.